Hello, classmates. Welcome to Riverbend. My name is Liam Nickel. I'm the multimedia editor for the Projector, and this is our podcast. Today I'm speaking with Sandman. He's a local indie pop artist, and he has a new song out called You're So Cool. Thanks for being here. Let's jump right in. Leave it in, and who cares? Okay, so Sandman.
Yes.
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 How did you get started with music? What's the story there?
Yeah, so I grew up in a pretty non-music household. Like, no one really played any instruments or anything or have a background. But when I was like 16, like I love music when I was really young. Like when I was like 5, I saw this movie trailer for this movie called Across the Universe. And it had a Beatles soundtrack.
Oh, nice.
I never watched the movie, just to preface that. I never actually ended up watching it. But I remember hearing a song and it was Hey Jude. And I remember that was like my sexual discovery, but like music.
Yeah, I got the ball rolling.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I like this. And
Something woke up.
Yeah. And then like that was like the first CD my dad like burned, like Beatles music on like a burnt CD.
Sweet.
That kind of thing. And then but it wasn't until I was like 16 where I like discovered beat making and stuff, because like I was around that time I was into like a lot of hip hop and rap and like a lot of so I was watching videos on like, oh, how beats are made and stuff, and I was like, I could do this.
Yeah.
So I got FL Studio, cracked it, can't afford that. And then I spent like a year kind of just like became like a little obsession. I was just like making beats because I wanted to be a producer. But then I ended up just being like, I can make my own songs on this stuff.
Sweet.
And then kind of just went forward from there.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting. You don't hear, like, I feel like the typical artist story is I grew up in a musical household.
Yeah.
Everybody was always listening to music or playing music or singing. So that's interesting that you kind of were the one that started that off in your house.
My mom
also,
I was gonna say my mom did listen to music, but like it was like very like it was like this around, I don't even know, it was like European dance music.
Oh,
like my mom would like listen to tons of that.
Wow.
I don't make that kind of music.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
that's cool. And then FL Studio, shout out. That's
shout out the OGs. Only the real ones know. But
yeah, I'm also an FL user, so yeah, represent.
You're cut from the same cloth.
There we go.
People need to put more respect on FL, man. I swear. Like
for real, it gets some slander.
It does. It does.
If you know, you know. And did you start off here in Winnipeg, making stuff?
Like kind of. So basically, my family's also Italian.
Okay.
So my mom wanted to move there when I was 16. So I went to school for half of a year there, my grade 11 year. And that was around the time when I got into it, like right before I left.
Okay.
So I feel like that kind of also was another factor that pushed me, because like I was living there and I had no friends, and I had like nothing to do. So I would just spend every day just in my room on my computer, my mom would be like, go out. Like, I'd be like, no, I'm just going to sit here and make little drum loops and stuff and see, because, so yeah, I guess like it kind of honestly really did start there. It started in Italy. But then when I came back, I just like, that's where it kept progressing and I kept going.
Okay. And so when did it like progress and reach the point where you played your first live show?
A minute, honestly. Yeah, because like all throughout high school, I made songs. I just threw them on SoundCloud. And it was like, whatever, like my 4 friends would be like, this is dope.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is like, looking back, like, this is ass. Like, this is not good. But like, it was good enough that a part of me was like, I could probably get better. So I just kept doing that. And then I went to university. And when I got to university, it was kind of like one of those things where it was still hobby mode for me, where it's like, I always wanted to, like, I really wanted to do it, but I just didn't really feel confident enough. And, just like life, like just you get told you gotta go to school, you gotta do this. So it's like I'm in school, like spending half my time focusing on that, but the other half I'm actually trying to record stuff. And Um, I also had like a little bit of a shift, but basically, to answer your original question, I didn't have my very first performance in 2019. So
Okay.
like 3 years into like doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was at the Goodwill.
Nice.
Shout out to Goodwill.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to Goodwill, man. That was also I was like lucky that I got to play one of the last shows there.
Mm.
I did a show where my friend had a show and I had a set, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna miss this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think I caught one of your shows a while back at the Pyramid.
Actually?
And it was it was also the first, I think it was the first ever show that Ben Notes did. He was opening for
that's
you.
crazy.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah. That's like the very first like band show. Cause like
Yeah.
before that, so when I did my first show at the Goodwill, when I met earlier when I said about I had a transitions, because originally I was like a rapper.
Right.
So it was more like rap influenced music. And then like it wasn't until like 2018, 2019 that I like switched and was like, I'm gonna make singing music. I'm gonna make, like other genres and stuff. And I started doing like indie pop and whatnot. But that was when I had my first show. Yeah, that's crazy. That's like my
Sweet.
first that's like my first real show, like headlining show.
Yeah.
That was a fun night. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was sweet. And the full band definitely adds so much.
Yeah.
Like that's
Absolutely.
sweet.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the Beatles, Hey Jude.
Yeah,
That's
man.
a funny, I don't know. How do you get from the Beatles, Hey Jude into doing hip hop at first?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, because well, like I wasn't right into rap because honestly, like I grew up in a pretty like my mom's pretty religious, pretty, like that's bad stuff. Don't listen to that kind of music.
Right.
But it wasn't until like middle school where I had this friend named Damien. Damien was like an absolute shithead. Shout out Damien. But I was a shithead with him. Basically, we would get in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
But he was kind of the one who like put me on. I remember back when iTunes you had to buy your music and stuff. He gave me his account and like gave me a bunch of music.
Nice.
Because before that I was a pop kid, like listening to radio, like literally like the Beatles. Like I was into like pop from a young age more. And then he was like, yo, have you heard of Eminem? And I was like, yeah, but I've heard it's bad. And he's like, nah, listen to it. So he put all of his Eminem like discography, like all these albums onto my iPod.
Nice.
And I remember I went on a trip that year and I just listened to it and I was like, why is this the hardest like shit ever? Like I was like, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of how I got into rap. But then yeah, from there, yeah, I think it's just like, yeah, it's weird. It's like going from like enjoying these influences and then got into rap and then became a hip hop head. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to make rap music because that's what I like to,
Mm-hmm.
I like the other stuff too, but it's
Right.
just also like I never consider myself a singer.
Okay.
So it's like, why would I do that when I'm not like, my voice isn't the best. So why would I not just, and I always like poetry. So it just kind of made sense, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it was really just like to get out of that was more of a comfortability thing. I feel like it was like I had to like build my confidence.
Yeah.
Into being like, I can make this kind of music.
For sure. Yeah. So do you still feel like you deal with a bit of like, oh, I'm not a singer like some other artists would be?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I am not a great singer. But people would be like, no, I think I've gotten better with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it's like body dysmorphia. It's like figuring out like, I think I have a cool voice. Like I think I have a unique voice.
Yeah.
Singing voice, that's another thing. I think that I had to like retrain what I think singing really means because I feel like when you hear singer, it's like, and I feel like just in culture right now, like when you think of singers, it's like you go on The Voice, you go on America's Got Talent, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you picture like these amazing singers and they have these voices, right? I think that artists aren't all that great of singers.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, the first time I thought, hey, I could do this was when I heard Young Thug sing. I was like, if that guy can be a singer, then I can definitely sing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah, it like opens up your idea of what it means to sing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a few like moments like that for me as well, where it's like some artists you realize like, wow,
Yeah.
this person's not actually like a good
Like
singer,
vocally, they're
but
not.
like
Yeah.
they do things with their voice and just like the artistry that they put into it, like
Mhm.
makes it engaging and makes it something that you want to listen to anyways. And like you wouldn't
Exactly.
say like, oh, they're a bad singer. You know,
No,
it's
no.
just it's a lot more than that.
It's just another instrument,
Yeah,
really. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
So
So
you just kind of discover things and train it. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, for sure.
What's your process like when you're like sitting down to make a song? Like where does it start and then how does it build off that?
Um, I mean, it honestly depends. For the most part, I don't usually like. I don't usually. I just go to the studio, and if I'll be working with like, let's say my homies. Like I have my homie Brian, or Ricky, or like one of the guys that like I usually will make music with.
Mhm.
And we'll kind of just like bounce an idea. Like it's like, okay, come up with a guitar riff,
Mhm.
and then I don't write. I do a lot of top lining, which is something that I really like figured out works for me the best.
Okay.
When I first started, I honestly like struggled a lot with like, cause I like writing,
Mhm.
but for some reason, like sitting there and like writing like right off the top just doesn't always. It's not enjoying. I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah.
So usually it's like we'll get an idea whether that's like a loop of something or just a progression. And then it's like, okay, from there, I'll go on the mic, freestyle like a melody.
Mhm.
Usually it's gibberish.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, there'll be words in there sprinkled in, and I'm like, and it really depends. Like, it's like throwing something at the wall, and it's like, okay, like that, maybe sometimes some phrases will come of that work perfectly. And I'm like, oh, that's the song idea.
Nice.
Like that one line like will lead to more like little dots connecting, and
Mhm.
it's like, okay, wait, this song I think is actually going to be about this. And then from there it's like, okay, now that I have the melodies, let me just write, and I'll write to those melodies after.
Sweet.
And yeah.
So is that what top lining is, where you just like kind of
Yeah,
start with
I
the
actually
melody?
just found out that's what it's called recently.
Okay,
For the
yeah.
longest time I used to tell people, yeah, I just kind of like mumble freestyle stuff, but
Yeah.
like apparently it's actually a thing. It's called top lining. A lot of rappers actually do it.
Yeah, I know Chance the Rapper
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
is known for that, where like he gets the beat and then he just like goes into the booth and starts freestyling until he
Yeah.
like has the song pretty
Basically.
much. So it can be like a long time, but he just stays in there until it's
Yeah.
there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. Um and you released an album in 2022?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, Nice Guys Finish Last. How did that come together where you're like, I want to make an album, and then you
Man.
made it happen? Or did you just have enough songs floating around and you're like, I want to put these all together, there's a story here?
Yeah. Well, the story behind that project, honestly, it's like pretty far back. Like literally as far as high school, I remember making like I had this idea of like, I'm gonna put out a project and it's gonna be called Nice Guys Finish Last.
Mhm.
And I had that for like since I was like 17. Like I was like, that's gonna be the name of my debut, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, And then it's just one of those things where it's like it became almost an inside joke, like with my friends, because it's like be like, oh, where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it? You keep saying you're gonna drop something, and I
Yeah.
never did. And I'd be like, oh, this year. I even shot like a cover art, like when I was 18 for it and stuff.
Okay.
And it's just like it's like one of those things where it's like it never happened because as I kept putting music out, I feel like I was like, especially in the start, like experimenting. Like I don't know what my sound is, so it's like me figuring it out. Like, okay, this I like, this doesn't work. This is kind of more me than this isn't, you know? But then once I broke through and I started getting into like the more indie realm, and I realized like this is like what this is what my style is, my sound. I was like, okay, like let's do this.
Mhm.
And the process behind that was also just kind of, it's weird. I love that project, but to be honest, it's very messy in the sense of a lot of those songs. Some of the songs when I put it out were already pushing 3 years old. But there were songs that I was like, these are going to be on the project. But
Right.
because of like things like realizing like, oh, we're in a, like I had to realize early on that like I want to make a project, but people don't listen to projects, especially as a new artist.
Yeah.
Nobody like, I feel like a lot of new artists, they do think like, oh, I need to put out like a project because that's what's gonna like cement my identity. But like the reality is, people's attention spans are short. They don't, and unless you're an artist that like they care about who has influence, like half the time they're not gonna listen to your whole project. It's just
Right.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's like, why make something if it's not gonna be fully appreciated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of fall back into like, no, let's just put singles out.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm glad I did, because
Mm-hmm.
that kind of is what helped me build like a fan base. But before, like I was starting at nothing. So it's like,
Right.
I spent like 2 years just putting singles out. And then by like the third year, I was like, okay, I need to drop this project though. Just for myself. Cause I was like, I feel like I've been holding on to this idea
Mm-hmm.
of a project that needs to be let go so I can move on.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally mustered enough songs. There were ones that were, but again, like some were recorded 3 years ago, so the mixing's ass. But then two of the, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it worked enough that it was like cohesive
Yeah.
and told the story I guess I wanted to tell.
Nice.
But yeah,
Yeah, that's a good reason to go for it. I feel like, yeah, it's definitely an artist thing and just like a
yeah,
creative person thing
yeah,
where, got a big imagination, so you
Mhm.
have this big idea.
yeah,
And it's like every little idea, you're like, how can I fit it into this big one?
exactly,
And you get this big thing going, and it can almost get to the point where sometimes it holds creative people back in a way from actually
100%.
progressing because this thing is just
Sometimes it's like too overwhelming too. Like a
yeah.
project is a lot of work. It's a
Mhm.
lot of songs. It's a lot of, especially like if it's, like a full on, like it's, yeah, it could be like pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I feel like people shouldn't rush it. If you're a new artist,
Mhm.
I feel like you should just have fun. and then like, and that's kind of my process now is like, I'm working on a new project, but when I say that, it's a lot more vague in the sense of like it'll happen when it happens. I'm kind of just making as much music as my goal is, instead of a project to go, my mindset's I just want to make as much music as possible.
Mhm.
And then I'll have like, from there I can be like, oh, what makes sense?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, that's good approach. Um so speaking of making a lot of music,
Mhm.
you have a song that just came out today?
No, so it came out on Friday, but the
Last
music
Friday?
video just came out today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
we go.
Yes,
Nice.
sir. It's called You're So Cool.
You're so cool. Yeah, check it out. Um, you have a few music videos,
Yeah.
and they all look like stunning.
Thank
They
you.
are just like very nice to watch. So how do those come together, and what's it like making those?
I love making music videos. Honestly, I
Mm.
love them because when I make songs, 90% of the time, I like almost picture
Mm.
like, I don't know. I love world building. I love making visual stuff. Like it's just it's a lot of my favorite artists. Like that's why a lot of my favorite artists are really big on their visuals and like how they go about that, and they create like a world and like all these things. So yeah, I have a lot of fun with them. It's almost as enjoyable to me as like making a song.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So do you like to have a lot of say in like the
Oh
direction
yeah, I'm
of
a
it and how
control
it
freak,
looks,
bro.
and
Yeah.
like the shirt you're wearing, that's your merch, right?
It is.
Like that's beautiful.
Shout
So
out. Shout
that's
out my boy
sweet.
Eric who makes these, or hand screen printed them.
Oh, nice.
Yes, sir.
Homemade. Do you have a favorite music video that you've done?
Probably this one.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, probably this one.
Yeah. What makes it your favorite?
Um, I think it's just like the execution of everything.
Mm.
And I've really been getting more into like, I want to tell stories
Mm.
with my videos and be very, like a lot of my earlier videos were, I don't have like I've always had ideas and stuff like that, but it's like, hey, let's like, you know, because with music, traditional music videos are not really that, like 90% of the time they're not story oriented. It's
Right.
very just like, is visual, and it is like,
Yeah.
like an idea. But like this one in my last video, because I was gonna say, if it wasn't this video, my favorite video would probably be my last one, which was called Bite the Bullet.
Mhm.
And that one was like, I'd say this one and that one I love the most because of how much creative, I'm gonna try to word this, like how much of myself I put into it, in the sense of like, hands-onness, like storyline. Like I wrote it, I came up with this idea, and it's like seeing it come to life, you know,
Sweet.
the way I intended, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always like a satisfying feeling when you've got an idea and you can do what you need to do to like bring it together.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't always go that way. So
Absolutely.
that's sweet. When you're performing live, if you are feeling like, how do you get a sense of like the energy in the room, like with the venue or with the people, and if maybe like it doesn't have enough energy, or like are there things that you do when you're performing to try and like change the vibe or get things going? Like, what's that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I always just try and like one thing that I've learned is that with crowds, especially, really with shows and performing, it's all about energy and like what you give, you get out. Like if you're hyped, like you're gonna hype the crowd up. If your energy is like, you know, kind of chill, whatever, then they're probably gonna be chill. And vice versa too, you know? So I've had crowds where the energy was already there. So it made it easier.
Yeah.
I've also performed to like people that were just like standing there. And it's like, bro, I've literally yelled at people. No, I've yelled at people. I had a show where I've done multiple shows where I've been like, you're standing in the back, you're a bitch. Like, I'm like, because straight up, I'm like, if you're coming to a show, like, you know, but I get it. There are people that are just like a little more like introverted and they don't, you know, but I feel like that's what shows are for. It's like, it's kind of like, to me at least, like when I have a show, like for me, it's a safe space for anybody who wants to come and just like not think, like turn that part of their brain off that's like overthinking. Because I'm like that. Like I'm a big like, I could be outgoing, but I'm also like, you know, I'm overthink a lot of things. I'm very like, you know, it's hard for me to be in the moment sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like shows for me, performing is like, that's the time to like have you, you know, like you just live in the moment.
Yeah.
And like really just let loose. Like you want to jump around, you want to scream, do it.
Totally.
I want to see you do it, you know? So I feel like I try and like I'll create that for the people in the crowd.
Yeah, that's sweet. I'm definitely like that too, where like, yeah, I can think about being at shows and it's like there are times where I'm just like, I don't know, don't have the energy or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about the people around me and I'm like, oh, there's people behind me that are looking at me and I'm like, whatever.
Right.
But it's like, you're right. When whoever's up on stage, if you see them and they're just letting loose and having a good time, it kind of like gives permission.
It's like you can have fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm having fun, so you can have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been to shows with people where it's like, yeah, no, I've been to shows where it's like the, you know, talented people on the stage though. But I'm like, this room is so like, that vibe is so serious. Like I don't believe in taking yourself too seriously. You know, like I take my work seriously, but I don't take myself seriously.
Okay.
Especially not at shows.
Nice.
My last show, I stage dived and did not get caught. Literally, I was like, I'm gonna do it. I was so confident. I was like, because I've done it before, and I was like, let me do this. This is the moment. And these guys were like, yo, I'll catch you. They didn't catch me.
Oh.
But I mean, it's just like funny, like whatever, like that. Everyone's just having a good
story.
time. Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, that's sweet. And yeah, if you're like that, where you're bringing the energy, it kind of also like, there's always going to be people who are looking like they want to go to shows so that they can have that fun and let loose. So if they know that like you're the act where they can do that, they're going to show up and bring the energy with them.
Exactly.
Well, that's sweet. What music are you listening to these days? What's kind of giving you inspiration?
Man, my shit's like all over the place. But like recently, I've been listening to this artist I found on TikTok. His name's Slim Dan.
Slim Dan.
He's really cool. It's kind of like, the lyricism's like off the chain. That's why. Just very like personal music that's like, the lyrics are just so like relatable. Like it's like I listen to music and I'll be like, damn, I wish I made that song.
Oh, totally.
You know? And he has some songs like that where I'm like, damn, like, I wish I came up with that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's cool. I also be listening to there's this album. You know who Role Model is?
No.
He's another artist. He's kind of like indie pop. Really great album he just put out. I listen to a lot. I try to listen to more I don't try to, but I just happen to listen to more underground
Yeah.
artists. There's a guy named Tommy Richmond.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
Isn't he the $1 Million Baby guy? Yeah.
But I've been like, not to be that guy. I've been listening to him since, you know, like, so it's cool to see him blow up, but he's really talented dude. But that's just like inspirational. It's like a guy who's like came from, you know, being underground to like, Billboard. It's crazy.
Totally. Yeah, that's sweet. I love like so much of my music listening is just like finding things with like 4 plays on SoundCloud and just like
it's like whoa,
finding I just want to hear what like people who, you know, there's something interesting about someone who doesn't really have much of an audience, and it kind of feels like they're just always going to be making whatever they want to make. Yeah, it's
like they haven't been corporatized yet. They're just like they're just some kid in their room, like making some weird shit, and you're like, whoa, like that's kind of cool though.
Like that's a crazy idea, and you're just sitting there making it. Like
exactly.
Give me it all.
That's the real inspirational stuff too.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I can hear that and be like, wow, like that they're doing something different, like you know.
And even if you can tell like that they're maybe just starting out, so they don't know about mixing or whatever, and it's like there's technical things that are off, but you're like, but man, like if you like put in the work and you get it sounding right, like you've got the ideas, you've got the spirit to put into it, that's going to make some crazy stuff. Like I know for me, when I look back, like I also make music, and when I look back at some of my older stuff, when I first started getting into it, like making stuff on GarageBand and just like screwing around, I just like, I can't help but cringe a little just because I didn't really know what I was doing, and it doesn't sound the best, but like I also am just like, wow, that's a really good idea. That's
cool.
Like
that you did that.
I'm proud of myself. That I like, you know, that I did that.
That's how I feel about like 90% of my music. I listen back to like there are songs that like people really like that are like 2 years old, and I'm listening to them like, damn, the mix is so bad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I've had to also realize, and like it, like to take it a step further with like that kid or whoever who's making music in his room, right? That doesn't know about mixing or how to do that stuff. I feel like there's a charm to it, and like there's like that in itself kind of will almost make the song.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes it's the lack of knowledge that makes it special almost.
Yeah.
You know, like when you don't know, it's like a kid who doesn't know what he's doing, but he's just doing it because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's like magic almost.
Totally.
Right? It's almost like because I had a struggle where I almost start like when I did start learning all these things, and it's like, oh, like it's like putting limitations on yourself when it's like there actually isn't. And it's like you have to learn the rules and then break them after. It's like, oh, I don't have to follow that.
Totally.
But it's good to know, you know?
Yeah, I definitely found that too. Like where, I don't know, like anytime I like learn a new thing about how to make music sound good, it's just like, it's nice to know, but then I also feel the pressure where it's like, okay, well, I gotta do this
that every
right.
time. Yeah, right?
So
I used to be like that with like literally mics, bro. I had a phase where I was like, I can't record because my room's just not acoustically treated nice. And I'm like, who cares? Like now I'll record in like anywhere. Well, maybe not anywhere, but like, like
don't record in here.
Yeah, maybe not.
We really shouldn't be recording a podcast in here, but it looks nice and we don't get bothered in this room. So
no, this is the best setup ever.
Nice, thank you.
Yes,
appreciate it. But yeah, it's interesting how things change. I know like this isn't the like exactly the same thing, but have you heard of Pine Grove?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I think need to banger. But I think they do it intentionally where like the mixing isn't like, if you listen to any of their songs, you can tell that like it doesn't sound as clean and crisp as like you'd expect from whatever popular band. So I think they do it intentionally, but like that's an example of how it totally works for them.
It does.
The guy's got the voice that just like, even though it sounds like it's being recorded on an iPhone, like with him 10 feet away, it doesn't matter because it just like complements the vibe so good.
Exactly.
That's sweet. Okay, well, if people want to find you online or anywhere, where can they look?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. I don't really use Twitter, but I have it. My @ is SandmanXO. Yeah, Spotify, just Sandman. Apple Music, Sandman. YouTube, Sandman. You know, if you
Yeah.
want to find my music video, You're So Cool, it's on YouTube.
Check it out.
Sandman.
It's
Yes,
awesome.
sir. Shot by Nasty. Shout out Dylan.
Sweet.
Shout out Martin. Shout out everybody involved.
Shout out.
Shout
All
out
right.
the gang.
Well, this has been the Red River Report. Thanks so much for tuning in. Who should we talk to next? Who should I get on here? Do you think you would be a good guest? Are you interesting? I want to hear all about it, so let me know. And maybe you'll be sitting here next time. Thanks again, and we'll catch you later. Peace out.